G'day. Last episode, I gave you some pointers on how to avoid detection when tracking. Today, I'm going to show you a bit about reading animal tracks and following animal movement through the bush as we go out on a real-life cryptid hunt. Check it out. I was camped out in the scrub here a couple of years back and I heard that a fella had been missing for 2 or 3 days in this area. Now, I felt a little bit guilty because I must admit I heard a really distant sound, like might have been, help, help. And if I heard it a bit clearer, I maybe should have gone out looking, because I did stop and think, oh wow, I can hear something coming from over that way, although the wind was bouncing around near the trees. But let me tell you a little bit of a story of how we found the guy. Now, the state emergency services and the police were out here looking for him, and I've noticed some old boot tracks, maybe 2 or 3 days old, in the area. So I've walked along the track, and the first thing I've noticed is where the ground had been disturbed, and this is what we call an overlap, or an overlay in tracking. Now, if something had been headed down towards me from this direction, it's going to pull through and go like that. Really quite simple. But if it's going to be pushing that way, it's pretty much guaranteed that it's going to lock over the other side like that. So I continued to follow that through the scrub, up along here, and then I noticed there was a bit of pressure had been applied on the ground. There was a bit of a indentation, and then there was an overlap which was nice and high. And when I noticed the one that was nice and high, I said, oh, he's headed through this direction. And the police have said, and the SES have said to me, oh, you sure he's headed that direction? How do you know it wasn't a kangaroo or an emu? Now, there's nothing that large that gets around this part of the Central Coast between Sydney and Newcastle. It could have, in my opinion, only have been a person, and we were right about 5 or 10 minutes up the track, and they found the poor fella clung to a rock. He'd been there for a couple of days and tried to take what he thought was the easy way, a shortcut to where he was going, and got stuck on the rocks, the poor bugger. To work out the aging of plants and how they look if they've been snapped a few days earlier, to get an estimate of, snapped this about 3 days ago, to give you an idea of the browning that's gone on the inside and the colour changes that have gone on in there. This one I've done yesterday, and that's already gone from a shiny green to more of a sandy colour. And this one I've just snapped now, and it won't kill this plant. I've done this plenty of times. And you can see how green that is, and I can also smell the freshness of that. And that gives us an idea of when something may have come through certain areas, and you practice that on all sorts of different types of plants. Of course, you don't do it on endangered plants. You do it on just your common plants in your area to get to know a bit of an idea of how long since something's passed through that area. Tracking's not all about finding an indentation on the ground. Often it's about finding other signs, such as, in this case, a transfer. So you've got some fairly hard ground in this area, but what's happened is a person that's come through this area has trod in some mud, and then they've transferred that, thus us calling it a transfer, onto the ground there. There's 2 people come through here. There's 1 foot, there's another foot, and here you can see quite clearly, if you know what you're looking for, here's the heel print, and there's the front of the foot, and you can even get a direction as to where the person is travelling. So you might get indentations in some areas, and in other areas you're going to have transfers which are going to allow you to track over rocks, over grass and other mediums. I've just picked up where a fox has come through here, or vulpus. Vulpus is their taxonomic name. You can just see that track through there. It's been obscured a bit by the rain that's come through, but I'm going to paste this out because I think I saw a transfer a bit further up. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and a bit, and there's a transfer where it's come through. So often you can't see the tracks, but you'll actually see where they've transferred a bit of dirt from their paw or hoof or foot. So we're going to paste that out again. 1, 2, 3 and 3/4. There's where the fox's tracks are together. Their front foot is a little bit bigger than their back foot, and when they're doing a trot, like this fella is now, he's just trotting along, doing the fox trot quite literally, their back paw and their front paw couples together in the track. So there's a direction there. I'll just point that out so you can see that clearly. They're sort of quite diamond shaped, the fox tracks. A bit skinnier. So let's paste that out and find the next track, hopefully. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we can't see that there. So let's not give up, keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still nothing, maybe something's gone over the top of that. I can see something very, very faint there, but it's rained over the top. But you keep pacing out at that same pace, given that the fox is moving at the same pace. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there we go. We're back on track. Now let's pace that out. 1, 2, 3, we've got the right direction. And there's the other one, but what's happening is the fox is starting to gain speed and moving a lot quicker away. If you're hot on the trail of your target and they've moved through some grassland, you've followed their tracks up to the grassland, you can often see the grass bouncing back into place after it's been pushed out. Let me give you a bit of an example, and you're going to have to pay pretty close attention here. Then we're going to bounce back and we're going to observe. You're looking out for those really, really subtle movements. Can you see those? And the way it's been pushed down is giving you an indication of the direction that the target is heading. This can go on for minutes, showing you that something's passed through this area recently. So much of tracking is about making careful observations, noting the most subtle changes in an environment. But it's also about listening and understanding what those sounds mean. As I hear the birds making their afternoon calls, it can be incredibly important in a tracking situation or a survival situation to get to know, particularly the distress calls of different birds. I think I can hear one going off now, actually. Well, that's definitely a distress call. And what that can let us know is that you've actually got a predator looming in the tree below, or sometimes flying above. And that predator could be the very thing we're trying to track, or it could be the very thing that we're trying to escape from in a survival tracking situation. Tracking can take time and perseverance. If you find yourself having to stay the night or build a shelter in a hurry, here's a few really handy tips to get you by. I always carry a camo tent fly with me when I'm out in the scrub. If I've got to stay overnight or for a couple of nights when I'm out there doing a tracking exercise, I use this plant here. It's called a Petrophile pulchella is its botanical name, or flexible cone stick. It's incredibly flexible. I can set up camp really, really quickly with minimal impact on the environment, and then I can pack away in just a matter of seconds and be away hiding in the bush if I need to, or continuing on the track. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my tracking tips this week. It's starting to rain a bit, so I better get out of here. But make sure you join us next time when we go out to track a real life cryptid.